Hey guys, we're going to work through the review for our test tomorrow on March 29th of 2018. So the first question says solve x cubed minus 27 equals 0. Okay, I'm really hoping at this point in time by now that alarm bells are going off in your brain. Oh, x cubed minus 27, that is the difference of cubes. Okay, so difference of cubes, let's just say you forgot the formula. Not a big deal, we all forget things. So the difference of cubes formulas comes from this idea, a cubed minus b cubed, which could change to being a cubed minus b cubed. So in other words, what you have to do is you have to know like what could be so that if it was cubed, it gave you b cubed. Okay? And then you can factor that down one step further to being a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. My bad. Okay? So that is the difference of cubes formula. So now we're going to apply this formula to this guy right here. So x cubed minus 27. So what could we cube to get x cubed? Well, hopefully you're like, oh, Mr. No, that was easy. It's just x. And absolutely. Okay. And what could we cube to get 27? Oh, 3. Okay. And so this still all equals 0 because we're not just factoring on this problem. We're actually solving. Okay. So now, oh, I should have erased the last line. That's okay. We can still say a minus b, so x minus 3, times a squared, so x squared, plus a times b, so 3x, plus b squared, so that's just 9, is equal to 0. Okay, now remember, anytime you have some parentheses multiplying equals 0, what you should do is just set each parentheses equal to 0. Okay, so that gives us x squared plus 3x plus 9 equals 0. Okay, so this one's pretty easy. X minus 3 equals 0. You just add 3, so x equals 3. However, if you remember correctly, I told you guys that x squared plus 3x plus 9, that was the quadratic piece from the difference of cubes, factoring a difference of cubes, which means it's never factorable. So that means I can't use tic-tac-toe on this guy. Instead, I have to use the quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. All right? So then you need to state, okay, what a, b, and c are. So we look over here and we say, okay, well, a is always the number in front of x squared, so that's a 1. B is always the number in front of x, so that's a 3. C is always the constant, so that's a 9. So then I can plug in a, b, and c into the quadratic formula. So I can say x equals negative b, so that's 3, plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9, because 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a which is 1, so 2 times 1. Okay? So then we simplify what's underneath the square root next. That's always what we do. We simplify what's underneath the radical. Okay, and that gives us negative 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 27 all divided by 2. Alright, so hopefully now alarm bells are going off in your head. You're like, oh, square root of negative 27, we cannot have a negative. So you're kind of thinking, oh, I didn't realize this was still here. Okay, so you have alarm bells going off in your head saying, oh, we can't have a negative underneath the square root sign. So what happens is it goes outside the square root sign, and it becomes the letter I, standing for an imaginary number. So we get x equals negative 3 plus or minus I square root of 27 all divided by 2. And now you think, okay, can I take the square root of 27 and get a whole number? No, you can't. So instead what you have to do is break down 27. So let's think. What are two numbers that multiply to be 27, one of which I can take the square root of? That's right, 9 times 3. So 9 times 3. Well, what's the square root of 9? 3. So I can write x equals negative 3 plus or minus, okay. So once again, what was the square root of 9 again? It was 3, so that would go out there in front of the square root sign. So we still have the I outside, so we're going to say 3I square root of 3 all divided by 2. And we look and we say 3, 3, and 2, they do not have a number in common, so I cannot take it further. And then remember, we solved for 3 at the very beginning over here, so that's my third answer. So x equals 3. Those are all of my answers. And there you go. That's how you do problem 1. All right, let's look at problem 2. I forgot to erase most of these. All right. X to the 4th minus 17x squared equals negative 72. Okay. For this class, I basically told you guys, anytime you're solving for x and it's being raised to some power other than 1, 99.9% of the time, you want to make it equal 0. So I need to bring the negative 72 over to the other side. So I'm going to add 72, and then it's just going to equal 0. Now I told you guys for this problem to cheat and let the calculator do all the work for you. I'm trying to bring my calculator over, it's fighting me. Okay, so what I have to quickly explain is that when it equals 0, what you're really saying is you want to know where y is 0. So you're trying to find x values that make y values 0, because that's going to be your output. So you're trying to find input values, hence x values, that give you an output value, hence y values, of 0. So that's what this is saying. That's what I'm trying to find here. So I turn my calculator on, if it would listen to me. You go to y equals, you type it in, you hit graph. So first off, you should realize, oh, y is 0 all on the x-axis. So it means y is 0 here and y is 0 here at negative 3 and positive 3. Now maybe you couldn't tell if that was true, so I would suggest you go to the table. Look here, x, negative 3, y is 0, so at negative 3 and again at positive 3. So your two answers for x are negative 3 and positive 3. Now, let me give you another hint. This test is multiple choice. Do you know what you could have done? Let's pretend I gave you this as multiple choice answer as negative 3 and 3. You could have plugged these in for x, and if it had worked, then you would know that would be one of your answers. Okay? That's another hint. You can work backwards if I give you multiple choice. All right, let's go on. Problem number 3. Problem number 3, the instructions are to factor completely. Okay, I'm trying to give you a hint by saying factor completely. Okay, now how many terms do you see happening here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 terms. So for this class, I pretty much told you guys 4 terms means factor by grouping. That means look at the first 2 terms and then look at the second 2 terms. X cubed and x squared, what do they have in common? That's right, they both have an x squared. So you factor out an x squared, so x cubed would become x, and 3x squared would become 3. All right? Then negative 4x and 12, what number do they have in common? 4. But we want to factor out a negative 4 because we want the second term to be a negative 3 instead of a positive 3. So I factor that out and I get x minus 3. Now you notice, oh, x minus 3, so I can factor that out. And then if you factor out an x minus 3, what would you have left? Well, you'd have an x squared, and you'd have a negative 4. Woo! So we have x minus 3 times x squared minus 4. Most people think we're done here, but we're really not. Okay? We need to factor x squared minus 4 farther. Okay? And you can do that because it's 2 terms, and there's subtraction in the middle. If there was addition in the middle, you couldn't do anything. But since it's 2 terms and subtraction in the middle, you can factor it. Okay? So we're going to say x squared. We're going to say negative 4. We're going to say negative 4x squared. All right. Now 0x, because I don't have an x term, right? So I say 0x and 2x and negative 2x. X squared and 2x have an x in common. X squared and negative 2x have an x in common. X times 2, x times negative 2. We go across, so we get x minus 3 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. That is its factored completely format. Whew. Okay? Next question. All right. Next question says use long division. I know you can see the answer, but if you're in class, you already know the answer. But this is just hopefully a review for you. Okay? And we're going to talk about what goes in front real fast. Okay? So, it says use long division to divide 6x cubed plus 2x squared plus 18x plus 26 by x squared plus 3. So you put what you're dividing underneath the long division box. But out here, you would say x squared plus, all right, now most people are tempted to put 3 right away. but you have to go in descending order. So you go x squared, then you should go x. We don't have an x. So instead we put in a 0x for it, plus 3. Now, what is the first term always? Divide the first by the first. So 6x cubed by x squared. Okay. So we're going to do that, and we get just 6x. We had 3 terms, so we go 3 terms deep, so 6x. Next up is to multiply. 6x times x squared is 6x cubed. 6x times 0x is 0x squared. 6x times 3 is 18x. Okay, so now I've multiplied, so now I do a whole lot of subtraction. Okay. So 6x cubed minus 6x cubed kill each other off. 2x squared minus 0x squared is 2x squared. 18x minus 18x kill each other off. But I like to put 0x anyway because I don't want to leave a space in between my x squared and my constant. I just don't like to. You don't have to put the 0x. You can leave a space. I just don't like to. Okay? Now I'm going to bring down the 26, so I say plus 26. Okay? And then I repeat all those processes again. I'm going to say 2x squared divided by x squared. So 2x squared divided by x squared, well, that's just 2. So I'm going to say plus 2. Now I'm going to multiply. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times 0x is 0x. 2 times 3 is 6. And then I subtract some more. So 2x squared minus 2x squared, kill each other off. 0x minus 0x does nothing. 26 minus 6 is 20. So, I didn't mean to move that. I don't know what's going on. Plus 20. I didn't mean to move this picture thing. Okay. So in other words, my answer is 6x plus 2 with a remainder of 20. So here I have a question for you. Is x squared plus 3 a factor of 6x cubed plus 2x squared plus 18x plus 26? No, it's not. Okay? Because in order to be a factor, you have a remainder of 0. All right? Cool. Let's go on to our next problem. All right. Our next problem says x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 3 divided by x minus 1. Okay, since I'm dividing by a linear factor, I can use synthetic division. Okay, so synthetic division means I take this, draw my upside down division box, and I put a number outside. So first, I need to figure out what number to divide by. So I set I'm going to set my linear factor equals 0, and I add 1, so x equals 1. So that's that number. Put that there. Now I look at this piece right here. I write down my coefficients. My coefficient on x cubed was 1, so now I need to look at x squared. My coefficient on x squared was 3. So I went x cubed, x squared, now I go x. My coefficient on x is a negative 1. So I went x cubed, x squared, x, so now I go to constant. My constant is a negative 3. Okay, in synthetic division you always carry down the first number. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, oops, sorry, that should be a positive 3, my apologies. Multiply, add, I'm sorry, I multiplied 1 times 3, I got a positive 3, I put that there. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So now, my remainder is 0, okay, because this last number is always your remainder. My remainder is 0, okay. So then 3 is my constant, 4 is the coefficient on x, 1 is the coefficient on x squared. So I'm going to say x squared plus 4x plus 3. And bam, that is my answer for that problem. Okay, next question. All right, this next problem, and in fact I'm just going to write it all out. This next problem, what it says to do is it says to use synthetic division. Oh, I lost my paper. Use synthetic division and given factor to factor completely. Okay, so it gives us, I left a lot of space. This is going to drive me crazy. All right, so it gives us x cubed plus 2x squared minus 5x minus 6, and then it gives us a factor of x plus 1. And it says use synthetic division. Okay, because remember, when you're dividing by something, if you get a remainder of 0, then you know that the quotient and what you actually divided by should be able to multiply it back to give you what you were dividing. Okay? So, we're going to use x plus 1, so we know that that's going to be the number negative 1 outside my synthetic division box. Then I put down my coefficients and my constant, carry down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So now I saw that x plus 1 worked. Okay, that's fine. I saw that x plus 1 worked. But then I know that this guy, which is x squared plus x minus 6, remember, constant, coefficient on x squared. This guy is also a factor. X squared plus x minus 6 is also a factor. Because if I was to multiply x squared plus x minus 6 by x plus 1, I would get back to my very original thing. Okay? But look at the instructions of this problem. They say to completely factor. So technically, could I factor this piece down more? Yes, I could. I could do it through tic-tac-toe. So I would say x squared, negative 6, negative 6x squared, 1x. So two numbers that multiply negative 6x squared but add to 1x are 3x and negative 2x, because 3x plus negative 2x is 1x. 3x times negative 2x is negative 6x squared. X squared and 3x, what do they have in common? X. X squared and negative 2x, what do they have in common? X. X times 3, x times negative 2. So then we can factor this guy down to being x minus 2, x plus 3, and then don't forget about your factor of x plus 1 that we got from earlier. So bam. So we then know our original polynomial, which was x cubed plus 2x squared minus 5x minus 6, can be factored down to being this guy right here. Okay? All right, number 7. Number 7, all right, just simply says use synthetic division to find p of 3. Okay, p of 3. Anytime you see p of x, okay, it just simply means synthetically divide by whatever the number we give you right here, and then just state the remainder. We don't care about the rest of the thing. We just care about the remainder. Okay? So for this problem, it says find p of 3. Okay, so that means I'm going to synthetically divide by the number 3. Okay? And then I'm going to put my coefficients in here, which is 1, negative 7, 15, and negative 9. Okay? So we carry down the 1, we multiply, we add, we multiply, we add, we multiply. Oh, that's a positive 9, my bad. And we add. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0. So the answer that p of 3, what p of 3 actually equals is 0. Okay? Because all we care about is the remainder. All right. Number 8. Okay. Number 8 says state the linear and quadratic factors of 2x cubed minus 54. Okay. So first off, it says state some factors. So then what is the overarching instructions? To factor. How do you start off factoring ever? Greatest common factor. So I factor out a 2. Well, if I factor out a 2 out of this guy, I'm going to get x cubed minus 27. Now, hopefully as you're writing that, your brain's going ding, 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 ding. This is the difference of cubes. Pause this video. Go try to finish this problem without me. Okay, so hopefully you did just pause the video and you're coming back. All right. And you're like, oh, okay, so I have my 2 here. And then I know that difference of cubes comes from something cubed minus something cubed. So you just have to figure out what those somethings are. Okay? And you know that x cubed is x cubed, and we know that 3 cubed is 27. So now I can say 2 times, all right, well, the difference of cubes formula is a minus b, so x minus 3, and then a squared, so x squared, plus a times b, so x times 3, so that would just be 3x, plus b squared, so that would be 3 squared, which is just 9. And then it just says state the linear and quadratic factors. This guy would be the linear, because it's the power of 1, and this guy would be the quadratic, because it has the power of 2. I'm not going to write the whole thing, I'm just going to write quad. Okay? All right, last but not least, we're going to do problem number 9, okay? Which was 4x raised to the 4th power plus 8x cubed minus 6x minus 8, and it had all of this being divided by x plus 2. Okay, so my suggestion here should notice by what are you dividing by? X plus 2, right? That's a linear term. So that means I can use synthetic division. So you said x plus 2 equals 0, you get x equals negative 2. So we say negative 2. We draw upside down long division box. 4, 8, pause, pause, pause. We had a power of 4, so we put the 4 there. We had a power of 3, so we put the 8 there. Now I need a power of 2. Do you see a power of 2? No, so we put a 0. Now we go to a power of 1. Okay, that's negative 6. And then we go to negative 8. Okay? So, carry down the first number, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So, the last number is your remainder. This is the constant. This is the coefficient on x, coefficient on x squared, coefficient on x cubed. So, 4x cubed minus 6, I don't need any of that 0 junk, it doesn't do anything, minus 6 with a remainder of 4. Okay guys, I know this video was long, but I really hope that was give you a thorough explanation of every problem. Please let me know if something doesn't make sense. Please let me know if I messed up. Or if you just have a question, guys, send me a remind. Seriously, send me an email. Just get a hold of me. Alright? Thanks.